coming. I just came here from Argentina, as Lauren was saying, where we created E-colics, inspired by Julian Assange and Wikileaks' work on freedom of information, which has created really a revolution, and this is why they want to extradite him for the US. This is not because of any rape allegations or any other of the smear campaigns that we have been seeing for the last 8 years on the media against him, and it's a reason why they're trying to alienate public support from him, to put him away in the US to languish in jail for the rest of his life. This is the most prominent journalist in world history who has done the most for humanity and for the freedom of information, exposing war crimes from the most powerful state that has ever existed, which is conducting a lot of crimes worldwide, and we need to expose them. So that's why we need to defend him here right now. E-colics, what we created, which is inspired on Wikileaks, revealed a secret study in Argentina about the environmental impacts of fracking, and this helped us build the world's largest movement against fracking, and it really led to a lot of persecution of myself. This is why I had to exile, and I'm here right now. And but this only shows how many things can spring out of what Assange paved the way for, and that's why we need to defend him, and that's why we need to carry on with the work and the legacy that he started. So thank you for coming here.
Julian Assange is wasting in Britain's Guantanamo for one reason, and one reason only. Because he dared create the Wikileaks infrastructure that allowed Chelsea Manning and other courageous whistleblowers to let you know of the crimes against humanity that your governments have been committing in your name. I urge you, whatever you think of Julian, to help stop his extradition into America's internal Guantanamo prison system. Friends, citizens of civilized Europe, in the 1930s, Mussolini's government imprisoned Antonio Gramsci because, as the fascist prosecutor said, Gramsci's voice had to be silenced. In the 1960s, the Nixon government tried to silence Dan Ellsberg by imprisoning him for letting your parents know of the crimes committed in Vietnam. Today in Brazil, former President Lula is imprisoned by neo-fascist Bolsonaro to silence his voice, and with it that of tens of millions of progressive Brazilians. As we speak, Donald Trump is in the process of silencing forever your voice, of plugging your ears, of blinding you to the truth by throwing Julian in a supermax prison. You have a duty to yourself. You have a duty to European civilization. You have a duty to the world. You must help us end Julian Assange persecution.
As an homage to a man with a great sense of humor, let me first say that when Julian Assange was still free, he held a speech in front of Occupy London where he made a brilliant joke. I guess most of you watched Life of Brian by Monty Python. If you don't know what Julian did, go to YouTube and watch it. It's really funny. He said, "We are all individuals." And then most of the people who were gathered here, like in Monty Python, repeated after Julian. But let me say, this today is not a joke. We are not all individuals. We are all Julian Assange, not because Julian Assange is in Belmarsh prison in a British Guantanamo. We are all Julian Assange because something much more than just an individual is in danger here. What is endangered with Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning in prison is our collective right to know, not more, not less. We are here today in front of the Brandenburg Gate because something much more than just an individual is in danger. Yes, a human being with a great sense of humor and a great sense for justice is in prison. But what is really in danger here is the very foundation of our democracy, namely the freedom of press. As long as Julian Assange is in this or any other prison, to paraphrase a speech which Ronald Reagan gave just in front of this Brandenburg Gate in 1987, It is not only the German question that remains open, but the question of freedom for all mankind. What is the German question? The German question is the question whether Germany will stand up and take its historical role in protecting whistleblowers, publishers, and the freedom of speech. How would you know that the NSA and the US government, by the way, hello to the US Embassy who can hear us here, how can you know that the US government and the NSA spied on the German government, the German institutions, and on the German citizens if there wasn't the revelations of Edward Snowden? How would you know about all the crimes committed in our names if there weren't the billions of leaks published by Wikileaks? Why is it illegal to reveal secrets, but it is still legal to undermine democracy? What happened to Chelsea Manning when she rejected to testify against Wikileaks? 56 days ago. She disappeared. Literally. She's still here. Her body is in the prison. In the same way, Julian Assange's body and mind is in prison. But the voice of Chelsea Manning is not here today. And the voice of Julian Assange is also not here today. She can't speak, and Julian Assange also at the moment can't speak. This is the reason why we are here today. This is the reason why we are giving the voice to Chelsea Manning, to Julian Assange, and to everything what they present. Do you remember the book by Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451? You probably know most of the topics which occur in the book. You know, people, firefighters who are burning books. But does anyone here remember the end of the movie? Or the book? At the very end of the book and the movie, what happens is that all those people who were reading books, who were using books in order to find out the truth, and also in order to build a better humanity, a better world, hide in a forest. And they hide in a forest, and since there are no books in society anymore, each and one and single of them learns a book by heart. So each person becomes a book. In a situation in which people like Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden cannot be with us today here, we have to become Julian Assange. We have to become Chelsea Manning. We have to become Edward Snowden and talk instead of them thinking what they would talk. Because this is just the start of a very long battle for freedom of press. If Julian Assange is extradited to the United States, they will come after you, they will come after you, they will come after everyone, and there will be no one else to speak in your name anymore. In the end, to quote a great German poet, Hölderlin, it might be a sad moment that we are here, but it's not a sad moment. We can see many people here, we can see masks here, we can see many supporters here. But as Hölderlin said, wo aber Gefahr ist, wächst das Rettende auch. It means, even if we are in deep shit, even if our democracies are not democracies anymore, even if institutions represented by the US Embassy, by the UK Embassy, which is just there, even if precisely these governments are undermining democracy, there is hope. There is hope as long as we can gather here, as long as we can give a voice to those who don't have a voice anymore. Free Chelsea Manning, free Julian Assange, free all the whistleblowers who are in prison today.
Hello Berlin. I want to thank everyone before me who spoke, and there is not so much to add to all the things that were already said on stage. I only want to quote Julian, who has been my friend for the last 10 years, and who has one sentence that he kept repeating. And this is, if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth. And by this maxim, he was always acting. And don't be confused by all the character assassination that you read about him. As a person who knows him, I can assure you most of it is just a big lie. And that's why I also want to quote him again and say that he also encouraged me always by saying, courage is contagious. And I'm also very happy to have this letter by another very famous whistleblower who also sacrificed all of his life for us, Edward Snowden. Thank God he is not in prison, but in exile in Moscow. And it is a shame for the free Western world that Putin in Moscow had to give him asylum and no other country in the free West dared to do so. Shame on you! So now I will read you the letter that was given to me on last Friday, and also greetings to all of you who came here today. For years, Julian Assange has warned that the moment he found himself outside political asylum, the government of the United States would demand his imprisonment. Warnings that in each of those years were discounted by his many critics as ridiculous, but today have been shown to be true. By the government's own admission, Assange has been charged for his role in bringing to light true information that exposed war crimes and wrongdoing perpetrated by the most powerful military in the history of the world. The full and single charge for which Assange stands accused is trying, and only trying, to aid the source of many of the last decade's most important stories in preventing her discovery as the only soldier in the United States military at that time brave enough to inform the public about a secret that should have been hidden in the first place. No one today disputes that the revelations of this source, Chelsea Manning, were news of the highest order. They were immediately carried on the front pages of every newspaper in the world. It is not just one man who stands in jeopardy, but the future of the free press. Thank you very much.
We are here in support of the people who have sacrificed their life to tell the truth. Julian Assange has been just arrested by UK government. Also, we know Snowden is in Russia, and Chelsea Manning is also being put back to jail in the United States. So this is a pretty dark state. We can see freedom of speech, free press has been horribly damaged. All those very, very important rights has been taken away from this so-called modern or democratic society. So this is really not about the individual, but rather about the whole society, how it would function. And if we don't protect those very essential values, then everybody will be affected. And we cannot call ourselves living in a civilized or modern society.
I think it is very important to do actions like this and the protests, not only because it's an obvious injustice to an individual like Julian Assange, who operates as a journalist and who is imprisoned for the wrong reasons and should be not in prison at all, but it's also about all of us, because if he can be prosecuted on grounds of telling the truth, then everybody can. And I think it's a very big danger that we will lose our free press that is already in jeopardy, I think, and it's very important that we stand by Julian Assange as well as stand by freedom of press.
Margaret Thatcher famously said that there is no such thing as society, only individuals. I think what we have to do today is to prove Margaret Thatcher wrong. Yes, I'm an individual, you are an individual, and many people here are individuals. And of course, it is an individual responsibility to read, to find out what is happening to people, courageous whistleblowers or publishers such as Chelsea Manning or Julian Assange. But without the collective action, there is no future. Without the collective action of individuals gathering together, whether it is in Berlin, whether it is in London, New York, South Africa, Asia, and so on, unfortunately, we will prove Margaret Thatcher right. There won't be such a thing as society anymore. There will be only individuals which will care for their private interests. And this is precisely what the governments and the corporations want us to be. They want us to be just individuals who just care about their small job, about the salary, and then watching television in the night. I think what we have to do today, and there are many people who are doing this as well, not only here in Berlin, is together, to come together, even if it is a meeting of 10 people, of 20 people. There is technology today. If Edward Snowden or Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning teached us anything, it is that technology doesn't have to be used only for mass surveillance. Technology doesn't have to be used only for some Cambridge Analytica in order to get Trump or Brexit to power. Technology can be used also for subversion, for connecting with other people, for getting the news out there to your couch, to your bed, in order to shock you, in order to get you out of the bed, in order to get you out of your apartment and to join the streets. But it's also not enough just to be on the streets. It's not enough just to protest. We can see today protests by Fridays for Future, Extinction Rebellion, protests for Julian Assange, and so on. But the big task we have in front of us is for all these movements to get connected. And the most important thing, once you get back home from the streets, is what you will do next.